I'm Janelli, also known as Miss Be Helpful, coming at you via Turbo Blog. And this post is part of a series called What the Finance? These videos are going to be explaining different financial topics. And in this one, we're diving into what is a grace period? How exactly does the grace period work? And why does it even matter? Why is the grace period so important? So let's jump right in. The grace period is all of the days between the last day of your statement or billing cycle and the actual due date where you have to make your payment. Now, if you have a credit card and you've used it before, you know that all of the different days when you're actually swiping your credit card, making purchases, are part of something called your statement cycle. A lot of people call it your billing cycle. But that usually lasts about 1 month, let's say anywhere between August 1st and September 1st. But then on September 2nd, that's when your grace period starts. From September 2nd to usually about September 25th or 26th, usually the grace period is about 25 days or so. It can definitely vary depending on the credit card that you have, but generally speaking, it's about 25 days. So around September 25th or 26th, your grace period would end, and that means that your credit card bill is going to be due on September 26th or 27th. That's going to be your due date. Now, it is really important for you to understand that all of the amount of money that you spent during the statement billing cycle is going to be printed on your bill, which is going to be due on, if you spent between August and September, on the September 27th bill. But you don't have to make any payments whatsoever until the actual due date. Even though your billing or statement cycle ended on September 1st, the grace period allows you to just kind of hang out a little bit and start to stack up your money and save up the money, making sure that you have it when the bill due date comes. So here's 2 examples of ways that I've used the grace period to my advantage. One is when I was in college. I did not have all the money to pay for my textbooks, so I used a credit card to buy all the textbooks, and I racked up a couple $100s of credit card debt on my first credit card. Now, when the due date came, I didn't have the money to pay the full bill, so I just made a minimum payment on my credit card, which was about $25 at that time. So throughout that whole grace period that was before the due date on that credit card, I was able to just work a couple extra hours at the pizzeria where I was working to get a couple more paychecks, to get some more money, so that when the due date came, I could have at least the minimum payment. Now, that's back when I was on the struggle bus financially and I didn't have the money to make my full payments by the due date, and I couldn't necessarily use the grace period completely to my advantage because I didn't necessarily have the money to make the full payment anyway. But the nice thing about the grace period is that all throughout those days, I didn't have to make any payments. So I was able to just keep working, picking up extra shifts, and do what I had to do to make sure that I had enough money to pay the bill when the due date actually came at the end of the grace period. Now, the second example is actually me now. What I like to do is make sure that before the grace period even comes, I've managed to pay off my full credit card balance. And the reason why I do that is because of 2 things. One, I avoid any interest being charged on my credit card balances because I've paid it completely before the due date. And the second thing that I'm able to do is increase my credit score a little bit, because when your credit card balance is reported to the credit bureaus, then that helps inform your credit utilization, which is one of the key parts of your credit score. So because I'm able to pay off the full balance before the grace period even kicks in, it looks as though my credit utilization is very, very, very low, no matter how much money I spent on the credit card before the grace period hit. So during my billing cycle or my statement cycle, I could spend as much money as I want on the credit card as long as I'm able to afford paying that full balance off, or as much of that balance off as I possibly can, leaving just a small amount left as a balance by the time the grace period comes, because that's when your credit card is going to report the balance to the credit bureaus, and it makes it look like you have very low balances all the time, even if you spend more during the statement cycle. And that's a nice trick that I like to use because it keeps my credit score high in that category of credit utilization. If you have any other questions about this topic or you want to know more about it, definitely check out some of the other videos that I've linked in the post below and read on to learn a little bit more about how your grace period can work to your advantage. And that's all I have for you guys. Till next time, peace.